Hi, okay, Martin Compton here again. This is the week three review. This week was all about presentation tools and a main emphasis in terms of skill development was on getting to grips with how one presentation creation tool, Google Slides, can be used in a whole range of ways and some of the hidden skills beneath it. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But generally speaking, it's about thinking about how we present information. And I don't know if any of you managed to listen to the podcast that's on the SMORE, which you can access through here on the blog. And in that podcast, I and a couple of colleagues from other institutions in London talk about some of the issues that happens with PowerPoint in particular. But that sort of, you've all heard the phrase death by PowerPoint. Some of the problems that happens, over animation, over stuffing it with text, reading from the screen, all of the things that we need to avoid. There's an interesting piece of research that was done that said that if somebody has something on a PowerPoint slide and they read it for themselves, that's one thing. If somebody has a PowerPoint slide and it's got a few bullets and then they elucidate a little bit more, or if somebody just speaks some words with nothing on a screen, that's something. But out of all of those, they're all better at conveying information. In other words, learning is better than if somebody has a PowerPoint slide and they read directly off it to an audience because it's distracting. And I find that absolutely fascinating, particularly because so often the temptation is to read off something that you have prepared. Now, we prepare presentations for all sorts of reasons, very often as a guide, as like a visual lesson plan. And that can be okay, but the tendency or that temptation to read off the screen, to just layer on the content as a reminder, which makes it a little bit dull, all of those things can actually demotivate, disengage. And what we're looking at is using these tools as a mechanism to engage, to motivate, to support the communication of the message that you want to get across. And that's even before we've got online. An offline PowerPoint should be doing that. Where cloud tools come into their own is through layering on different approaches to delivery. So we talked a little bit about the flipped approach, where you could use a presentation as the sort of theory input. And that's reviewed by students before they then do some kind of application work. Or going even further and getting the students to develop the content based on perhaps some trusted resources or links. So linking a web quest to the development of a presentation at perhaps lower levels, at higher levels, enabling them to identify the source material themselves and creating a presentation, which then perhaps you review together as a class. And you, the subject expert, this is really important. You're the subject expert. You fill in the gaps, identify strengths, identify weaknesses. And if you're using something like Google Slides, you can even use the comment function, as I did with the presentation that you made as you went. So our starting point in that lesson was this. This was the presentation. Notice it has a really long and cumbersome, unguessable, but not secure. So it's worth remembering that link, which I made accessible by shortening it. Okay, there are many URL shorteners out there, but tiny.cc allows you to create your own URL there. And that's really useful. So a nice short URL, tiny url.com also enables that as well. And you can just type that in. So I could write it on the board, I could put it on a piece of card, whatever. It enables people to get to the presentation. And then each of you contributed to those slides, and that was absolutely fantastic. I don't know why I can't access any of those now. So all I did was I set up the template and created a sort of template slide, and then just right click, duplicate slide multiple times, and then I'm able to see all of the content that you've put in. So that was my template slide. So you can imagine it took me about 2 minutes to make this resource. It took me longer to actually edit my own slide and put a video in there than it did to actually create this resource. But it's lovely. I mean, some of the things in here are absolutely fascinating. We've got John's really gone for it here. It's wonderful, really informative, really interesting, reveals a little bit about the person. So even if you used it almost identically as an induction activity, I think you can see how positive it is in the way that people present themselves, the kind of images that they use, what they say about themselves. And I think it's a rather nice way of starting a course. But you had plenty of ideas about how you might adapt this. So individuals can have their own slides, or groups can have their own slides, or they can all work on the whole presentation. You could have titles, sections, different groups. You could have something that's text heavy that needs illustrating, something that's illustrated that needs explaining. Loads of things that you can do. So you come into, in order to create it, I'm sending you the full video about how to do this as well. But the key is in here. It needs to be anyone with the link. So it's click on share, click on advanced. And in this box here, you make sure that it's anyone with the link can edit. And if you've got that, then everybody can add to it. Of course, it could be anyone with the link can comment. And if it's anyone with the link can comment, then you can have a presentation and the students can come in and add or have a conversation in comments, if you like. So there are, there are different ways of doing it. Just that one tool, that Google app, Google Slides, can be so creative and so dynamic and so interesting. And really, it's up to you what you do with that. I also, I believe, showed you David Lochry's presentation that he did for one of the AT meetings. And I really like this because of the way that it introduces iconic representation of somebody. And this is a start on the way to thinking about gamification as well, because we can have icons and people put their names to these, and then they use those icons just to drag them onto a different part of the slider there, and it's great. And as I say, if you think, oh, I can adapt that, I can use this template, all you need to do is go File, make a copy, and then that goes in your Google Drive. And then all you'd need to do is just edit the questions and then share the copy. So the same process, and you've got an interactive resource that you can use in groups, individually, out of class, in class, or even just whole group from the front. If you've got an interactive whiteboard, or even if you haven't, you could say, discuss it and then come and position your group on the slide. And then, why did you put yourself here? Why did you put yourself there? So many things you can do with this. Like, it's just one resource. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. So what I'll do is I'll send you a separate how-to video on how to create a collaborative presentation with Google Slides. And you can think about that. The other thing that I got you to do was to have a look at a whole bunch of other tools, and I have no idea what you looked at there, but there's a whole range of things on here. First and foremost, I've pieced them all together in a tool called Smore. As you can see, it's linear, but it's very easy to embed videos, and I think they look quite nice. As you can see, I've got a couple more how-tos down there, and it's just a really nice way of organizing information. I've got loads of these that I use for both marketing and actually for structuring sessions. If I just quickly show you one of my other flyers on here, this one, where is it? The Observation of Teaching and Learning. This is actually like my mini VLE. It's actually my scheme of work. There's the handbook. There's the course leaflet. There's a bit of reading ahead of the course, and there is my weekly session plan. Links, pre-reading, things to do, tasks to do in the session, a video to watch pre-session, then discussion in class, Dorota's familiar with this because this is what we used, and she'll tell you if it worked or not. Some photographs of some of the less fortunate teachers in the professional development department, looks-wise, I mean. And you'll also notice is that because I'm logged into my Facebook account at the moment, I can actually post comments on that. So it does hook into Facebook quite nicely, and you can have a comment thread underneath it as well. So even that one tool, the tool that I've used for presentation purposes, has a lot of scope, variety, and what have you, and it's pretty easy to use. I don't think you would have any difficulty if you tried it. I saw Sarah trying it, and she might be able to tell you next week whether, if she comes, whether it's a good tool or not. Just to spend a little bit more time on some of these others. This one, I'll just play a little bit for you. So as you can see, that's a way of collecting photos together. Really nice way of telling a story, of recording an event, a visit, a trip, whatever. I've seen a really good one where a plumber put all the different types of pipe and pipe bends and fixings in the image, and he played it to the students, and they had to quickly write down all of the different pipe bends. So it was really nice. And there's loads of things you can do. Again, it really does depend on your creativity. That's made with a tool called Animoto. And if you were to use Animoto, what I would suggest you do is, this goes straight to my account, but if I go back here, oh dear, not what I was looking for. Never mind. If I go back here, you'll see on the home page there's a link to education. You can just enter a code in your account status page. So if I go to education and then learn more and apply now, I can have unlimited videos longer than the free 30-second demo account. It's great. And on top of that, if I really like it, I can actually give all my students a free pro account. So a wee bit more complicated, but it's just a great tool. Really, really nice. Lovely iPhone or smartphone app, and you can just use the photos on your phone to create presentations. It is interactive in a way because on the actual site there's comment function on there as well. I've just uploaded this one to YouTube. As you may know, YouTube is a little bit dodgy in terms of the comment function because you get so many trolls on there, people who are posting bile and vitriol from the comfort of their mother's back bedroom in their dirty, sweaty vests. But, so be it. That's the nature of the world. So sometimes it's better to leave the tools in places where the trolls tend not to visit. Excuse me, I haven't had a cup of tea for hours. My throat's very dry. Most of you will have come across Prezi before. I don't make a big deal out of it on this course because really, to really get to grips with Prezi, I think you need at least a full session just on that, perhaps two. And that kind of goes against my core principle on this course, which is that the principle has got to be on the cloud, it's got to be free, and it's got to be easy for the person to create. And Prezi isn't as easy as it could be. It's not that intuitive, but I do like the concept. A lot of people like PowerPoint or other presentation tools because you start with a title slide and then you build your content in a linear fashion, and a lot of people's brains work that way. I tend to be more holistic in the way that I see things, and what I really like about Prezi is if you're making a Prezi, you just sort of throw all your ideas down and then you decide how you're going to link them all together and whether or not you want to go back and forth to different things. And you can use it to make very strong visual cues or reinforcers to what you're learning as well. But if you haven't seen it, this is the kind of format. And it's rather nice. Looks really nice. You can embed video, you can embed links, and it, has a really nice look and feel. My preferred way of using it is to come up with some kind of visual holding thing, like a notice board or something like that, and that way you can put all the elements in there. And it might seem, superficial, but actually, if you say to your students later, "Do you remember that presentation where I had the notice board?" Well, and just having that as a prompt can really help the students remember what it is that you're talking about. Poplet. We didn't have time to really talk about this, but those of you that like mind maps, this is what it looks like. It's a very straightforward mind mapping tool. I'll show you a couple here. Works nicely with tablets, and it's just a case of, there you go, that's what it looks like. So they can interconnect or be disconnected. It can be collaborative. I don't have editing rights on here. It can be collaborative. You can have images. You can put video content in them. So I think it's quite a nice look and feel. Some people really like that. On the free account, you only get 5 free Poplets. But if you're encouraging your students to use it, then that's going to be more than enough anyway. This is a slight deviation. I mentioned it briefly yesterday, but it's the idea of curation tools. Excuse me. And what this does is it pulls content from different parts of the web. Here I've used Rebel Mouse, but there are, lots and lots of these. Curateur is one. One of my other favorites is paper.li. And if you're interested in these, do ask me about it, because it's just a really nice way of curating daily information that updates and changes with time. I'll just show you an example here. If I go back to my blog and go to the eTeaching Daily, there you go. You'll see an example. So this is one of mine. So it's the eTeaching Daily. It's a newspaper that is updated daily. You can see from the top here that the next update is due in 3 hours. I have stuff on technology, science, education, EdTech, EdChat, and so on. You can see it's all relevant to what I do. Teaching maths with Lego, learning how to code, why students forget everything on your PowerPoint slides. Oh, what could be more appropriate than that? And I've just pulled that together basically from my Twitter feed, but it has that look and feel of a newspaper. And if I wanted to push that or change the themes, I could do that via Twitter, or actually in lots of different ways. The easiest way to control the content is via Twitter, though. And I think that looks great. And I haven't touched that for months, to be honest with you. It looks like I'm putting a lot of effort in, but that is a daily newspaper that actually is defined by my Twitter feed. Now, somebody asked me yesterday, my apologies, I can't remember who it was, but somebody said virtually that very question there. How do you find out about all this stuff? Well, a lot of it is pulled together because of the way that I've set up my social media. And that might just sound like so much gobbledygook, but it's really about time saving. So, I filter experts and enthusiasts and all sorts of people through my Twitter feed and scroll through those while I'm on the train. I have a long journey to work, so scroll through those while I'm on the train, have a look at some of that content, and where I find something good, I'll retweet it, and those retweets feed into my curation pages. If that's a step too far, then don't worry about that for now. But to know that it is possible is really what I'm driving at here. To know that it's possible, that you can have a daily published newspaper in your name, on your topic, for your students, edited by you, that actually, once you set it up, takes about an hour, requires no further work. So to know that you can do those is a step in the right direction, I think. And if you're really keen on doing that, and we don't manage to get back to it, that's one of the things to think about in week 9 or 10, where it starts to be completely free for all. And we can visit those tools again. An easier curation tool, and a rather glorious one actually, is Storify. I'm going to quickly show you how this works. I think you've all seen BlendSpace, which looks like that, and it's got a similar kind of idea to it. I'm going to create one now. So you go to Storify. I think you can create an account with Google or Twitter. I can't remember. It is Twitter on this one, yeah. But it's well worth having an account. Excuse me. So what I do is I think of a presentation, the topic that I want to do, that's going to be drawing on web-based content or my own resources, and I give it a title. So I'm going to call this one PowerPoint. All right. And then I search for PowerPoint within all of these different options. Oh, I thought it stayed there. So let's have a look for PowerPoint. And so that's searching Twitter for any references to PowerPoint. And if I'm going to scrutinize the information a little bit better. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag these gorgeous PowerPoint templates. Lovely. And more PowerPoint templates to impress people. There you go. And then I'm going to search images, just pure images, to find something to decorate it. Then I'm going to search people's timelines or particular users or lists. And that's just within Twitter. Then I do the same thing through Facebook. I'm not going to connect my account. Then I do the same thing through Google+. Then I go to YouTube. This time I will have a search. Let's search for bad PowerPoint on YouTube. I think there's a couple. There you go. This is quite a nice comedic film. So Life and Death by PowerPoint is quite funny there. You could watch that, and I can drag more content in. And you get the idea. So I can add resources from other areas as well, different source types. I can put links in there, which means I can link to something that I've put in box.com. So frankly, I could put a Word doc, PowerPoint in there, and that is my lesson, if you like. I then publish it. If I want, I can add text between each one. So here, see, I can enter text to describe what's in each slide. So did I publish it? There you go. And now I'm going to view it. So this is the presentation that I've just made whilst I've been talking to you. There's an instant short URL, which I can stick straight onto Twitter. So I've got a record of it. It gives me a nice title slide there. I've got a video that I can play, another video that I can play, an image, bloody, bloody, blah. That's my content done for my lesson. If I don't like it in that linear fashion, I can change it to a grid. So let's display it as a grid. There you go. So I can go to little bits and pieces as I want, or I can turn the whole thing into a slideshow. And so here we go. So I just navigate through that slideshow there, play the video content, show the images, so on and so forth. So as you can see, that is a really quick way of creating resources, and I think really rather nice. I've put a Storify on here that you might want to have a close look at. This is one that I've made about using the cloud for planning purposes. So here are some examples of how you can use comics to set your learning objectives. A little caveat in there that you might want to read. And these are all basically tweets with links to other people's ideas. So this is a woman who works at CNWL. She's an ESOL lecturer. Oh, she's taken it down. I'll have to correct that link. But most of these will be good. There's an English teacher from Newham College who's made some exam advice for her students doing GCSE English on a blend space. So it's well worth having a look at that as well. I feel like I've been talking a little bit too long, so I'm going to wind this up fairly swiftly. But just through the rest of this resource, you'll see a few other bits and pieces. Screencasting is what I'm doing at the moment, where you're talking over whatever it is you're displaying on your screen. At the moment, I'm using Screencastify. Works in Chrome, works on Macs. It won't work on the Chromebooks we use in class because we've locked down extensions. But if you had one, you'd be able to do exactly what I'm doing here. Screencast-O-Matic works really well on the PC. You don't have to have a webcam. You don't have to have yourself in the corner. But I think people respond well to the kind of intonation, non-verbal communication, as well as the voice. I'm never going to be a film star. I recognize that. I know my frailties, but it's a cross I will bear. I'm not big on production and all that kind of stuff. As you can see from this one down here, I haven't even positioned myself in a decent position. But, I think it gets the message across and people do find them useful. In fact, This one here is on how to make QR codes and why you might want to do it. So there's a little bit of a bonus material in there as well. Powtoon, it's got this look and feel to it. I'm just waiting for the boom. I've forgotten how long this bit took. I'm sure Neil will like this. There we go. Okay, so you've seen it. So that's an animation that you can make, little animated video that you can make in a tool called Powtoon. Again, it's free, like all of this stuff, or it's on a freemium basis or a free with advertising basis. And I think it really looks the part. Looks really, really effective. And they're pretty straightforward to put together. If you do use Powtoon, though, ask me about the timeline, because the secret is in the timeline, or at least watch a how-to guide online, because you can get stuck. It's all in the timeline, not about slides. BlendSpace, we've talked about. I think it's brilliant for pulling web content together, like Storyfy. Absolutely fantastic for videos. And don't forget, like a lot of these things, I can't remember who was it. Tanvir, I think, was saying, I can't believe all this stuff on exam time that we were looking at. And other teachers have created it. It's already there. It's unbelievable. It's excellent. And he's right. It is quite remarkable. So if I go to BlendSpace, go into my account, go to the gallery, and search for lessons on topics that I've already done, that I'm about to teach, such as 3D shapes, which is, I think, what Tanvir was doing. You can see that lots of people have already created lessons on 3D shapes, and we can have a look at those. This one's probably targeted at a primary audience just by a quick look at that. But if I did like it, I can copy it, correct that missing image, update some bits and pieces, and boom, I've got a lesson I can share with my students. And I can even do tracking and all sorts of stuff on it. It's unbelievable, really. It really is. Talk briefly about exam time mind mapping. We'll come back to that at a later stage when we talk about assessment tools. Prezo.tv, I didn't have a chance to look at that, but I will mention that again. BrainyBox was a class tool thing. I really think there's enough to keep you going for an entire course there. And just let me reiterate. 1 week, one tool, that's all anybody needs to worry about. If you manage 2, 3, 4, 5, fantastic. If you find some time between times and you want to look at more stuff, it's all there for you. What you need to know is that there's a universe of stuff out there that's available, it's useful, it's brilliant. You can't learn it all overnight, but to know it's there, to know these things can be done, to know that teachers all over the world are creating resources that you can share and adapt, that's what's important. But don't forget the pedagogy. Don't forget your purpose behind it. And I just want to finish off, if I can find it, with an image. This is a model of what you might call effective use of technology in education. This is you here, your subject expert. Your content knowledge is key. And how you teach that is in this part of the Venn diagram here. Effectively, how you teach that. So everything you know about grouping, behavior management, communication, all of those things, all the skills, the way you hone them and apply them to your subject, that crossover there, that's where students are learning. The crossover between pedagogic and content knowledge. When we layer on technology to that, you can know loads and loads and loads and loads of stuff. And you can think about teaching and learning. Great, there's an overlap there. But you've also got to overlap it with your own subject specialism. So this is me, in part, and here. I'm a teacher trainer first and foremost, and I like a bit of technology as well. So this is me. So what I'm trying to do is pull together these two sections here, talking about teaching and learning, talking about technology, and doing this. What you have to do is bring your circle, your subject specialism here so that we can position you in here so that we're getting the most of your expertise, thinking about the tools that are appropriate to you and the techniques that work with your level, your group, your age range, your style, you know? So there's a lot of positioning that you have to do for yourself. Get yourself in there. So it might help to think about the way that we're framing it. This is why it's not just one tool a week. This is why it isn't just a step-by-step how-to guide. You've got to find your place. And don't worry if it's just one simple thing. I mean it. I really do. And I've probably even exceeded the time that I managed last week. But I feel like I'm having a conversation. It's kind of finishing off all of those things that came up. And it's such a big group. And there's so much discussion. It's very, very exciting. So I'll leave it there. And I'll see some of you next week. Because remember, it was the optional session. If you weren't there this week, though, I would strongly recommend you do come. Okay. Thanks very much.